Loddlenaut asks a very simple question. What happens if I take Power Wash Simulator and transform it into Ocean Cleanup Simulator? And in doing so, present it and wrap it around in a wholesome and relaxing vibe with low stakes for any mistakes or actions that you do that are incorrect, but also that gives you that ecological progress, very similar to what Power Wash Simulator gives you when it drip feeds the dopamine of watching everything become clean. It's one of those games that I actually really, really like, and I'm in the process of pulling together a review very slowly on, but it's so satisfying. And Loddlenaut takes that same principle and applies it to Ocean Clear Up, so you've got this ecological nuance to it too. In Loddlenaut you play as this interstellar custodian of planets, and you drop down onto GUP-14. This planet's been abandoned by a company called Guppy, and they make loads and loads of different products. So anything through from like soda cans to glass bottles to mobile phones and laptops, that kind of stuff. But it's totally junked the ocean whilst doing so. Indeed, its headquarters were down underneath in the oceans too. So there's like loads of abandoned buildings and signage and stuff like that as well. You drop into the ocean, which is an entirely open world for you to go and explore. But inside this open world are 5 key hub areas that have been heavily polluted that you want to clean up and restore so that you can then bring life back to it again. Clearing up those 5 hubs brings them to life and introduces Loddles, and these are like a subplot of the main game where they will develop, grow, mate, give birth to babies, and they're largely autonomous, but you can help steer some of the different designs and their morphing capabilities as they grow from baby to adult by the aquatic fruit that is available in their habitat and what you feed them. So, there are 2 main things that you'll be clearing up in Loddlenaut, and the first thing is gloop. Gloop is this game's oil, but I think of it as like oil plus because it sticks to everything, but it also infects things that's around it as well. So you can leave stuff and it will slowly fester and spread over time, almost like some kind of virus. The other thing with this is that if you've got Loddles that are following you around and they get too close to this gloop, they become infected and they will keep following you around until you leave them alone in a nice clean environment. And so they start then dragging that gloop around and infecting other things that you're clearing as you go. So you're like, stop! So you just need to be careful with that. And a lot of this then boils down to movement, because the main way how you can clean up all of this gloop is with your laser gun, which you can press and hold down and it will auto fire, but also auto aim within a visual cone of where you're looking. So it's really easy to pick up and manoeuvre into, but it does mean that you need to get used to the way how this game controls. And I think it does a very good job actually, particularly because we're underwater and diving. So you need some additional controls to kind of control not just where you're looking and where you're moving to. And you can do that with changing the camera of the right analog stick and moving with the left. But you've also got face buttons that allow you to raise and lower your depth as you go through the water. And this becomes particularly key in the last couple of areas in this game, because that involves you going right the way down into trenches and being quite deep in the sea. And so you need to be able to, upgrade your character so that their equipment can cope with that level of depth of water and the pressure. But also, you then need to be a bit more savvy with where you place yourself vertically to where the gloop is so that your cone of vision covers things. So I found the controls really, really simple and easy to use, but obviously if you're not used to diving games, it might take you a little bit getting used to. That's the first way how you can clear up gloop. The second way is then with this cool little like hop-on rider street cleaner tool, and when you get into that you just drive around on the floor and it's so swishy and satisfying to drive and watch everything clear up. It's the last kind of tool that you get in your arsenal in the game to play with, but it's one of the most satisfying because you're just hopping on the back and going around sweeping stuff up, and it's super cool. The other tool that you have in your arsenal, but it's not for clearing up gloop, it's for clearing up microplastics, is like a little hoover. And it works the same way as the gun, so you have to kind of swim up to where it is that you want to get rid of the microplastics in the water. They kind of look like funky glittery confetti, and then you just press and hold the hoover and it will just suck up everything, and it was very visually clear where you're going with it all. So you just kind of maneuver yourself around and suck stuff up just very similar to how the laser gun works. The thing with the microplastics is that hoover becomes full, so you then have to deposit your microplastics back into your recycling bins, which incidentally is the main gameplay loop for the second part of what you collect, which is junk. Now, I mentioned earlier on that this guppy organisation builds all of these different devices and trashed the ocean with all of its junk. You have 5 big recycling bins that will recycle all of this trash into what's called bits. Now, there'll be a metal bit, a plastic bit, a glass bit, a organic bit, which is where you can suck up all of the different aquatic fruit and then change it into like organic matter to make new things. And then there's an electronic bit. And the reason for this is you just want to get rid of all of the junk in this game so that you're working towards getting a 100% clean rating, which then allows all of your Loddles to then move in and feel comfortable and happy, and then they can go off and like mate, make babies, find new things, swim around, look generally cute, and make cute noises as you swim past them. At the same time as clearing up all of this trash to reach the end goal, the bits that you create out of the process of recycling then get put towards your upgrade system, because all of your tools can be upgraded and you can create new additional help for yourself too. So for example, that hoover that sucks up all the microplastics can have the capacity of it before it needs to be emptied increased. You can improve the drivability and the volume of what gets swept up in that ground sweeper for all of the gloop. You can improve the power and speed of your laser gun to get rid of all of the gloop and suck up all of the trash, for example. So they're quite tangible things that you can upgrade on all of your craft. And one of those also includes your oxygen tank, because you do have an oxygen meter that will decrease, but the game is so helpful with providing different ways of you getting oxygen, and that includes building custom little oxygenating rings that you can then swim through to just replenish stuff. And also it works as a jet spray to clean up your Loddles so that they get free of the gloop and can start living happy lives. And you can have loads of those, including like lanterns that light the way if you're getting a bit lost in the open world. And you can also build a little chef area where you can bring in all of the different fruits that you've collected and the foods around the whole of GUP 14 and start creating little chef pieces for your Loddles to eat, which gives them all unique characteristics. So you can start playing with genetics and changing the Loddlenauts and their personalities and traits. All of this is quite softly and gently nodded towards in the background, but you have to go through particularly that upgrade path for all of your tools, because otherwise parts of the game become inaccessible until you reach that point. But at no point in Loddlenaut did I ever feel like I was grinding for anything. It feels really well paced, and if anything actually this game is shorter than I expected, because I'd completed it in 5 hours to get 100% of everything clean, but there was still time for me to have mucking about with the Loddles, changing their effects, feeding them different things and seeing what happens over time. The other thing that I would say about this game, and it's the only... I get why they've done it, but I think it's a potential nitpick negative for some people, is that no matter how well you do to reach 100% to clean something, the longer you leave somewhere unchecked, more rubbish is generating over time. So it might be at 100% when you left it, but you go off and start cleaning up another biome, and then when you go back to home base to empty out your recycling, something's already dropped to 95% very slowly, because more gloop or trash is just being dropped slowly over time or generating. I get why they're doing it, because they're basically saying you need to conserve the oceans, it's not a once and done thing, and actually it's a good message to sell. From a gameplay perspective, it's really annoying that you can't have everything bang on 100% for very long at all. And so that was really getting my like mini OCD up that I didn't even know I had until I played this game. So I was like, stop it. That was a shame. The only other mild criticism that I have is that your backpack has 16 slots, I think it is, for the inventory. And there's like loads of stuff that you can hoover up that you then need to deposit in the recycling bins. And I know the developers, having now looked in the Steam forums, are looking at putting in a patch to put in another 4 slots in that inventory, because there is a central kind of storage space where you can chuck loads and loads of different things in, and that's great. but it's the actual backpack storage that sends you back and forth between a hub that you're clearing and your home hub to recycle stuff. And that felt oddly limited, and it was the only thing in the game that didn't have an upgrade and therefore stood out as a result as not having an upgrade, because everything else did. So I was like, that feels weird, because that facilitated a few more back and forths that I felt was necessary, and was the only padding that I felt was in this game, because it's actually quite succinct and short and to the point, but everything in here feels beautifully stylised, really well designed. And whilst I'd have loved to have seen a few more animals perhaps in there that we could look after and cultivate, what's here is absolutely gorgeous. And so I picked up Loddlenaut on its release. I sat through this game in 2 nights and couldn't stop playing it because I found it so satisfying. It absolutely has that power wash itch that can be scratched, but with an ecological spin on it too. And so I would absolutely recommend this game. Just be aware it is on the shorter side, and it's not nearly as detailed as a power wash simulator with loads and loads of different tools and needing that kind of level of accuracy of pointing stuff around, all of that kind of stuff. It's very hands-off, and it's not hands-off. It does an awful lot of heavy lifting for you so that you can have a friction-free experience swimming around this beautiful world and clearing it up. Written review will be over on highplanegames.com. Any comments or questions, leave them down below. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/higherplane-network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.